Rise and shine. How do you hear me? We hear you very clearly, sir. Outstanding. Before I start chastising the world, let me first go ahead and say, rise and shine and welcome to the call. And yes, this is the United Nations call. I say, welcome to the call. And for all of those of you who are not able to get on the call, and I'm saying this in due to the fact that a lot of them do go up on the recalls or the replays, and they're able to go and listen. So I'm giving them, those that will not be able to get on the call, a assurance that the next time they call in earlier, they perhaps will be on the call rather than having to listen to the playback. With saying that, without chastising them first, let me go ahead and say this. I want to welcome you to the call based upon the fact that we're all family. And upon being family, we have something that we say to each other every would-be day, every day. We don't skip a day by saying the words, rise and shine. Rise and shine can be found in the book of Isaiah, the 60th chapter, where it tells us to rise and shine. And it tells us, for the Spirit of God is upon us, and we're to be those that are carrying out His will on this planet to save it, to save mankind. You can't save this planet unless you save mankind first. The humans on this planet has to be looked at in regards that they are the most important thing on here, and it has to be for the welfare of the people. And even though we have nations that claim commonwealth, the commonwealth is a wealth that they do send out to the people, but however, it's never been exercised to a point where they actually carry it out in a form where it will be physical rather than some mental thought. So with saying that, once again, it gives me great pleasure to be able to identify who we are. We are a family. We are the World Global Network Reset Restoration Network. We are a family that comes in 198 sovereign nations. These sovereign nations makes up of 7 billion plus. We're rounding out now around 8 billion sovereign principles on this planet whereby we're individuals. In doing so, as the world and knowing it as having world elements are beginning to also latch out at those who are in violation of it. I don't know if anyone is noticing or recognizing, but those that are in violation of these would-be so-called laws that God has placed on the planet are quickly beginning to even look older than what they really are. They're beginning to break down in areas whereby having their age, they are not even nowhere close to being in no would-be material fashion to be worn out. They're not there yet. You know, there has been men that have been 90 and plus years old that's still been able to go out in their front yards and do cartwheels. There's been men that's been in their 80s that's at least been able to still go out and jump on a Harley. And some of them are doing it now, jumping on Harleys and taking a long ride around the would-be country, the countryside, going through the mountain. 80 plus years old. And there's those that are bad even. They have just now climbed into their 60s. And some of them haven't even climbed into their late 30s yet. And they look at them, though, they have been ran through the mill and has hit a couple of would-be so-called mountains rather than ride to them. They've hit them. Literally. And these are the things in which now we have to use our minds, we have to use our eyesight, we have to use our spirits and our hearts to recognize that it's happening for a vicious reason of them being those in whom are in violation to the laws of God, the laws of the earth. And it won't get better, it get worse. Now, as we begin to come on this particular call, I have identified who we are, and I'm here now. Even though it might seem like I've already started chastising for those nations that deem that I'm chastising them, it's okay. I need you to understand that this is maybe a form of chastising, but it's much more of a form of warning. I'm not chastising anyone. I'm warning you of what you have already read. You've already read and you've already experienced on the planet about what's going on and what will happen, what's the future of the world, what's the prophecy of the world. And you've already read it. And many of you are still trying to dismiss it based upon the fact that you just don't want it to be true. However, we must explain to you, just because it's your thought or your feelings that you don't want something to happen is not going to stop it from occurring. Now, going forward, as you feel that it's a chastisement rather than a would-be warning, again, I'm going to use the word today so you don't feel that you're being chastised. I'm going to say warning. Warning to the U.S. of A, especially, a nation that is known as the nation of Babylon. This is the United Nations call. We can do that. Being that you have claimed yourself to be one of the family members of the nations of the world, we have to be able to at least bring you a chastisement, if you might call it that, knowing that it is a warning, just like everyone else is receiving. That warning to you is that, for some strange reason, the European world that landed itself in the land of the Hebrews and the land of the Gentiles, it still has no identity. I'm talking about the land of the Gentiles. Again, I say, for the European world landed itself inside of what is known as the Hebrew land, the Israelite land, the land of those in whom you have tried to do nothing more than interchange the name of Jews and Israelites. And they're not the same people. The Israelis a little town that you named Israel is not the Israelites. They're not the Israelites. They never will be. No matter how you try to interchange the words Jews, you will not be able to take up that energy of the only true God of the universe to change the identity or the blood of those people who are truly known by God as his children and his would-be Israelite family. You're not going to be able to do that. So it doesn't matter about you coming around in the 1940s to name some little small strip off from Gaza, naming it what you classify to be Israel and believing that you're going to somehow be able to change the whole identity of the true Israelites that are still in what is known now as the United States of America, that once upon a time was under 5 unincorporated nations that were going by way of what was known as Israelites. And you changed, the name that you interchanged was Israelites and Indians, because the Indians of what you now name to be the United States of America were Israelites. And they wasn't red people either. There was no red people even west or east of the Mississippi. No red people whatsoever. And being that now, the scientists are just now bringing to everyone's acknowledgement that the would-be so-called Chinese or those Orientals have been in that land for a long time now. And those Orientals and those would-be so-called Chinese and Japanese and all the ones that were truly mixed of one blood that were classified as Orientals doesn't interchange them to make them Asianistic. They're not Asians. The Asianistic people are right there in the land that now they're being called the United States of America. And I know this sounds like it's confusing to everyone on the planet, but it is not. The only nation that's still confused right now, if it might be classified a nation amongst itself, and that's the United States of America. They're the only ones confused. And they are constantly doing nothing more than putting forth an effort to confuse everyone else. And everyone else is far from being would-be confused, neither are they going to ever allow themselves to be confused, especially when listening to the so-called would-be Western world of some United States of America. Now, America is so confused based upon chaoticism and under dysfunctionalism. It has been so confused till it has confused itself. And, you know, it has been proper to say that if one states a lie and he says it to himself long enough, it will even become reality to himself. He will make himself believe that a lie is factual just by repeating it over and over to himself. And this has been that new Western world. This has been their way of life for now 250 years of their own existence of omissions, but knowing that they've been around for about 1,000 years now, and that time is over. For it was written even in the beginning of time that they would reign for 1,000 years, but after that 1,000 years, they would be put back in their place. And this is what's happening now to the Western world, and everyone must admit that they already understand it. They already know what it's about. To include that Western world has to come to a reality that, in fact, and the lie that they've been telling to themselves, that they have come to a point. And believe it or not, the average would-be so-called Western Caucasian American right now is truly believing that they are the founding children, they are the founding fathers, they are the discoverers, they are the ones that civilized everybody. They are truly under this one particular would-be lie of a belief. Because they've said it over and over to themselves. They have said it throughout every nation they've been to. They have said this over and over to themselves until they believe it. Hollywood has given them even a greater cause to believe these would be manipulated lies in which they're trying to bring to the Western world. You will see them in movies where they're playing some jungle of a would-be expert, some jungle of a conqueror, where at some point in time they're almost half naked, wearing nothing more than a lion skin or a would-be tiger skin or a leopard skin, and believing that they're there to conquer the black people or the would-be so-called native people or the dark-skinned people that are there in the land. They would want to make themselves believe that. There's other times you will see them there in that same jungle, wearing these would-be khaki outfits with big old white hats to protect them from the sun and from the tropical would-be rains and from the tropical weather. And at the same time, you see them carrying big cages on the back of nothing more than ox-driven carts, placing all types of animals in it to include the dark-skinned people of the land. And they want to believe that this is exactly how they themselves discovered the world and conquered the world. They want to believe that. And you know, it's gotten so bad until all the nations are watching those of the would-be Western world, of the European, Caucasian, Caucasian world, come to a point to even believe that they're teaching everybody else how to pronounce their names. Wow. What a world of fantasy and ignorance upon that. And this ignorance and this would-be arrogance that they have about themselves have brought them to a point of annihilation. Because every nation has gotten so sick of it. And believe it or not, that's the saddest thing about it, because they haven't recognized it yet. And believe it or not, every nation has been sitting back, allowing these particular people that were classified as Gentiles, heathens, believing that everyone could do nothing more than rehabilitate them. The whole world has been believing that There's some good in these people, and we got to save them. The whole world has been doing that. The whole world has found themselves showing this would-be favoritism of believing that they could take a would-be unruly group of people. Yes, the Gentiles. They have believed that they could take some heathenistic people and find some good in them. And every nation has given them this opportunity. Every nation, all 198 nations have given them this opportunity to prove themselves, to have some good in them. And every time they've done nothing more than spoil the would-be overall plan by showing just the opposite. You bring them into your house, you offer them a seat, only to have them steal the table. Yes, the seat. Then they find themselves stealing the bed. They don't stop at stealing the bed because they have to steal everything they believe that goes along with the bed, the blanket, the sheets, the pillow. Then they find themselves stealing everything that goes to the table, the lamp, the plates. Yes, even the spoons and the forks that goes on top of the table for feasting. They steal it all. And then they claim that they discovered it. They founders of it. It was lost. Nobody could find it. And the heathens, they would classify everyone else to be. The uncivilized did not know how to use those would-be utensils until they came along. And it really, really gets bad when they start using names like Fernando and calling it Fernandez. And you cannot tell them that they're not pronouncing it right because they have found it and they were the ones who also put together the would-be dictionary. A dictionary is not just in English. A dictionary is not just in English. A thesaurus is not just in English. As a matter of fact, the word thesaurus is not even an English word. It didn't come from English. Neither did it come from Latin world of Latino. It didn't come from that. Not the word thesaurus. And they want you to believe that you're pronouncing the word wrong because they have started saying words like dinosaurs, pyrosaurus. They want you to believe that they were the ones that came up with these words. When once upon a time, they couldn't even grunt to be able to communicate. They couldn't grunt. They were living in the mountains. And from time to time now, as it has been proven, and they do have documentaries, scientific even documentaries, where they're showing people of the light skin, white people, that are still grunting. A lot of them are still crawling on their hands and knees to be able to even move around as what would be classified as transporting oneself. Still crawling on their hands and knees and grunting. They say that this would-be so-called situation of a would-be state that they're in comes from by way of incestment or ancestral, whereby they believe that because the fathers were sleeping with the daughters and the mothers were sleeping with the sons, that this has somehow, it has killed their blood genes and caused their blood genes to have this would-be disability to be able to function properly. It's called ancestry. And this ancestry has been a way of the life of those that will be classified at some point in time as the European world. And it has become more perverted than just that because it has been known that any time that there was a household where the father and the mother were they were doing nothing more than having children. And whenever the household was outweighed by boys, the fathers and the mothers would even teach the boys to have, sexual relationships. In that perverted world, known once upon a time only as the European world, because everyone knows for a fact that old King George, as they would say, was one that he loved when anyone could come to his house and enter him from the back door. Perversion. Ancestry. Perversion. And now it seems to be catching up with the whole world. Why? Because the whole world has been under this would-be leadership or regime for so long now until the rest of the world believe that they have to come to a standard of being able to be accepted by this would-be lifestyle. Until now it becomes so nasty that even you will find around the Israelites, or now the Israelites being controlled for so many years now, believe that it is acceptable to be entering each other from the back door in a perverted way of even in their own would-be so-called household, creating nothing more than more incest. And this has become so nasty for the world. Knowing that, warning, everyone on the planet has already been given this warning that these things would cause the world to be eliminated by God. And right now, everyone wants to accept it because they have been so colonialized. They have been in a a colony of people that these things are acceptable to a point where everyone has been doing it, and now they believe that with everyone taking a blind eye, or everyone looking the other way, or everyone being an acceptance to an agreement to it, that is okay. The Pope just recently, if they might call the Puke himself the Pope, just now, he is supposedly giving authority. He's authorizing same-sex relationships. Same-sex. And you have to understand that the only reason he's giving acceptance to it is because he's part of it. I don't care what anyone on this planet says about me and what their feelings might become about me. I don't care what they might try to do to me. I'm going to be truthful at all times. Your Pope is a faggot. Stated by myself. I'm not in fear of doing that. If you want me to, I'll go on all 132 channels that belongs to the Vatican. Just now that the Pope is a faggot. Yes, I will. I'll deal with Jesus Christ myself. I can deal with God myself. That's the reason he sent me here. That I might be held accountable. To him, not to you. The Pope's a faggot. I've already been writing him now letters since 2000. He knows. He's always came up with an excuse to have to give his blood, DNA, and RNA to be tested to see if he's really one of Aaron's would-be bloodline children. Or if he's just a plain old incest faggot from some would-be so-called Western family. I'm not afraid to say this. So what? If I might be cursing myself, no one's going to be able to fix it anyway, are they? Not even the grandest witches they got on the planet will be able to help me. Not even the grandest would-be Bible hours will be able to help me. And they definitely won't be able to do anything to me. You know, we live in a world now where everyone wants to be an acceptance to the homosexual LGBTQ community. And you want to know why? Because we had so many men like Jeffrey Epstein and men like Bill William Gates. And we got so many men like would-be so-called Elon Musk and the Jeff Bezos that has been having enough money that they could pay for either any kind of sex that they so desired. To include having sex with a donkey. Trying to make a horse. Stay with me. Don't be getting angry and don't think I'm not joking. And no, I'm not chastising anyone. I'm bringing you, again, one. You go ahead and accept it if you want to, because inside of the Vatican itself, however, so many young women and young men that they have killed and still is buried underneath St. Peter's, it's not going to change the fact that right now, they're at the point of being punished by God. No longer are we waiting 250 years. We're not waiting another 1,000 years for them to be punished. It's happening as we so speak. And soon you're going to see that punishment happen to one you call Francis. You're going to see it happen to George Jorge Bergoglio. You're going to watch him being punished by God in a manner that I guarantee you, by the time my father is through with him, you're going to think that he was a creature, came out of one of the features of some of your would-be so-called motion movies. I'm only giving him the warning because he's so, I would say, on the side of being feminine and gay. He can't face me face to face. He refuses to. He'll invite the Queen. He'll invite all these would-be so-called presidents of the United States of America, but he won't invite me. The one he knows that he has to, and no doubt he has to sit down and sup with me, or he is going to go to hell. He already knows that. He knows exactly who I am. He already knows my voice. He's been dodging me. And every time I write him, it seems to just incite him to a point where he becomes furious. Furious enough to start, again, using his ability to have all these Facebook friends, and all of these would-be rock and roll Instagrammers, and all these would-be so-called brand new Generation Z Xers doing nothing more than getting all of his fan factions together and his fan clientele of his million followers, his billion followers, that he can get them to accept the fact that he himself likes the wrong end of the tip of a head of a penis. Excuse me, I do not care. I told you before, I'm going to keep it as clean as I can. You have to understand now. You're talking about you want me to respect what? Your children? You have no respect for your children. But right now, you're teaching babies straight out of the womb that they could do nothing more than take themselves into a room of all babies of the same would-be sex, same would-be gender. And you're telling those babies that they can put hands on each other intimately right now. That's what you're telling them. You're telling them right now that even though they're being born by deliverance, that they're going to be nothing more, and we do talk about a clean deliverance for a lot of them, they're going to be born boys. And you're going to tell them they can be girls when they so desire, when they want to be. Just take a pic. You're going to show them a picture of a boy and a girl, and you're going to tell them that they can be either or. And you want me to watch my speech? Watch my language, you would say. Watch the way I speak to your children. But this is the way you're treating them. You got little faggots running around in your house. You got little dykes running around in your house. And you want me to watch. Yeah. I just want you to think about what you're doing and what you're saying to me right now. Not going to happen. I'm not going to respect any of that you're talking about. Your request is denied. Right away. Denied. My Father has sent me to deny your request of ignorance and arrogance. That's what he sent me to do, and I'm going to do it. Go ahead, try it. We can have a public trial just for myself. You can ask those questions, giving me my freedom of speech, as Donald Trump would say. I'm going to call you and your child a faggot. I'm going to call you and your child a dyke in public so everybody can hear it. Test me. We can do it at St. Peter's on the Basilical. We can do it during Mass, and I guarantee I will call the Pope a faggot. Right there. In St. Peter's. During Mass. Just before he puts the cup to his mouth, I would call him a faggot drinking wine. I sure will. Test me. Because the world has to be warned of the truth. Someone's got to warn the world of the truth, and there's only that one someone that can do so. Yahoshua Mashiach. Only one can do that. Let me repeat that. Yahoshua Mashiach. Only one can do that. Everyone else, you're too cowardly to do that. No, I'm not chastising you. I'm giving you the truth. Test me. All you got to do, everybody can get together. And you know, you can go to the Pope, and you can vote to have Dr. Hindu I.L. Henderson, by way of the majority vote, to have to come to St. Peter's and Vatican and do what he says he's got to do. Take a vote. Let's see how many people vote me to do it. You'll vote for the president. I guarantee you right now, providing that they let Barack Obama, once again, vote to be a president. I don't care even if it's in France. He'll more than likely get the majority vote. You know why? Because he's going to contribute to your lack of doing anything with backbone. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's a fact. A man with no backbone would definitely not mind somebody running up in the back of his rear end. He ain't got to worry about anything getting hit. It's an open area. Stay with me. Don't get angry. No. This ain't defamation. This is the truth. Defamation would be something that's not true and someone keeps spreading it. This is the truth. And it's not being spread, it's being expounded. It's a difference. What kind of world do we live in? What kind? Terrible world. Terrible world. Right now, the world is constantly doing nothing more than rejecting the truth. They're rejecting the words of God, only that they might be able to do nothing but explore their moments of heathenistic living. Who would do that? Who would do nothing more than deny the truth of what they can see with their own plain eyes and what they can hear with their own plain ears? They can hear it, they can see it, they just ignore it. They don't care. They're so willing to look for some would-be monetary world that's going to give them happiness on the planet until they refuse to do the proper things of God. I mean, this might be a time of a great big tax break for the Pope and all of his would-be so-called rich friends, his rich colleagues, his rich brothers in the would-be so-called clergy world of colleagues. It's a great time. They enjoy that. All we got to do is settle this the way I've been asking them to do now since 2000. 1999, I told them, let's settle this. All you got to do is bring me and the Pope to the Vatican, and we can settle this because he's got millions of would-be so-called followers. Billions of followers. All you got to do is let's settle this. I ain't going to say what I have to say. He's going to say what he has to say, and we're going to see which one of us drop dead first. And if it be me, we're going to see which one of us can come back. Tell me. If I come back, everybody shuts up from then on. If he comes back and keep talking, but let's try it. Let's test it. I say, let's do it. He can't be that coward of one white silk penny. Please, come on, give me my opportunity, give me my chance. Perhaps maybe he might just find out I might be Jesus to Christ and I might just ascend back to heaven. I might stay there this time. I might not come back to talk to him anymore. I might let him have his world. I think not. I'm going to keep coming back. You would think Now you have to pull his head off and pee down his neck for him to be able to feel it in his stomach that what I'm saying to him is true, because that's what's going to happen to him. I can assure him he is going to feel something that he has never, ever thought could happen to a human being on this planet before. And I'm not cursing you. I'm bringing you honor of what you need based upon your own desire. Your desire, not mine. Your desire is to be filled with the masculine force of a sperm that will explode you into some world of would-be so-called everlasting. That's the joy that you're looking for. Let's hurry up and get you that. There's no need to prolong it. But I tell you now, hands off my Father's people. Let my people go. And if you don't, you won't have any more hands or arms, and your shoulders will be definitely crying out for some assistance. Because your head is going to be reeling and rocking just before it rolls off your body for not having any support. Stay with me. I'm just giving you a vivid picture of what's about to happen to you, so everyone can see it. They need an example. They don't believe. They do not believe. The people of this planet, this earth, do not believe. They don't want to even believe that they're being visited by some so-called would-be distant neighbors. They don't want to believe that. They don't. What a world we're in right now. The Pope has declared on the world exactly what the Holy Book had already given everyone a warning about. They're claiming now that they have found some ship of what they classified to be on Mount Amaranth, and they want to say that this ship was the same ship that Moses was in. They're saying that this is the same ship that Noah put on the water. Moses' bones were there. That's what they want you to believe. But they want to say that Noah was the captain of this ship. Noah. But they're not explaining to you the reason why Noah was on that boat, that it was capsized in waters. They're not telling you the reason why. Noah was running from a perverted world. Perversion. Where homosexuality had taken over. Lying leaders had taken over. Manipulating leaders had taken over. Armies were fighting out of control. Even animals had become disobedient. And Noah decided to pack up, set sail, but only the few that will come and gather for the indexing to get on board, to be part of the righteous, to rebuild the universe. This is the story. Ask the Pope. The Pope now wants to dismiss half of the stories in the Bible for the simple fact he don't fit into any of them except for the book where the Sodom and Gomorrah kind of ends. That's where he fits in at. And he knows that Sodom and Gomorrah ended, and he wants to prolong his time of being around. The party time, the happy time. The time when everybody can just do what they want to do. Incest is a part of their life. Incest, homosexuality, yes. Even brothers lying and sleeping with brothers. Sisters lying and sleeping with sisters. Mothers lying and sleeping with daughters. Mothers lying and sleeping with their sons. Fathers lying and sleeping with their daughters. Yes. They want you to believe that all of this is being permitted now by the God and everyone else knows for a fact has once upon a time cursed the world himself and set on a would-be course of destroying it. Only to have a few would-be righteous men come to him and pray to him and ask him to give them one more chance. And providing God having the generous heart that he has and the love that he has for man, he has given them a second chance. Only to have a few faggots working from the so-called would-be Vatican now to dismiss all of the forgiveness. You would think, who in the right mind, but he even fashioned himself, putting a man of such in such a prestigious position of being able to influence billions of people on the planet in a manner whereby it got them in trouble before. You would think, who in their right mind would even find themselves? But you have to understand that it has already been written in the book for those things to happen. But to have it written in the book and know what the outcome and the ending is going to be, the conclusion, who would be ignorant enough to still allow themselves to become part of it? My father's children, born to a would-be so-called perverted father through incest, just won't get it until they have been totally terminated off the planet, exterminated off the planet. I know. This is too much like what they deem to be someone teaching and preaching hate. But it's not. This is not tyranny. This is not tyranny. It has nothing to do with tyrantry. Not to be talking about eliminating the homos and the gays and the would-be so-called incestors and the pedophiles and the would-be moneylenders and the would-be so-called embezzlers. This is more than just about them. This is about every crook that you could think of. And believe it or not, in the United States of America right now, which is a conversation for America tonight, their president right now has decided to do nothing more than go down into all of their borders and declare that the people coming across the border can now be arrested based upon the fact that them coming across, which will be classified illegal. But at the same time, he wants to somehow declare it to be okay. But the only way he wants to declare it to be okay is he wants all of those people that come across, he wants them to join by way of the amnesty program. You have to listen to what he said. The amnesty program. What does that mean to us? He's going to declare them criminals. But at the same time, he's going to allow them to be able to declare themselves under an amnesty trust where they will get paid. And he's believing that he's going to be able to draw on their pay whereby it will benefit the United States of America. Let me help him out. Not going to happen. So every amnesty that gets way of approval has got to go through, you got it, the Universal World Court. Not your Supreme Court, not your local would-be so-called district court, not your would-be so-called local courts inside of houses. Neither are we going to allow you to be able to give some would-be authority from the White House, from the Parliament, or any other type of so-called would-be high esteemed building. Not going to happen. You better believe the only authority that's going to come to give any type of agreement or disagreement has to come from heaven. And neither one of you has that power. Because all power has been given into my hands since I was raised from a dead level, perpendicular on a square, coming out of your would-be so-called Jesus Christ's tomb. And that tomb is not in some Jerusalem that you have created. I don't know what man or dude or would-be homosexual that you laid in that tomb, but I can assure you that Jesus the Christ never laid in that tomb. Never did. That tomb still smells like perfume and manure. And trust me, Jesus the Christ has never laid in a tomb that smells like perfume and manure. BM, you might call it. Never. Never will he lie in a tomb of that such nature. Smelling like the rear end of a horse. This is not a chastisement, this is a warning. Time is winding down. The floods are again coming. The ice that will find itself once again gathering from the bottom of the would-be so-called stairs of the White House all the way to the steeple on the top of would-be so-called the Parliament, and covering all the doors of Buckingham Palace. It is going to freeze this whole entire universe to a point where when it does thaw again, only the righteous will thaw out. And all the unrighteous will remain frozen until they're thrown in hell, where they will thaw out quickly to a burning crisp. I know they're very angry with me right now. They're listening, monitoring, whatever. I say that the blood should flow from their ears. Keep monitoring. I ain't going to do us all a favor right now, though. Being that you don't try to silence my phone, it's only going to be a short period of time, and I will return.
Thank you, sir. You know, family, just recently, during what we call Thanksgiving here in the U.S., Pope Francis had a luncheon for transgender women. Many of them were sex workers and migrants from Latin America. There were about 1,200 people who they said that this luncheon was for those that lived in poverty. However, it appeared the majority of those that were there were indeed transgender women, which are men that have either dressed like a woman or had their genitals cut off and gone through transitional surgeries, whom he should be very familiar with, especially if they came from Latin America. He himself, being a native of Argentina, and common knowledge says that he was involved with sex trafficking and pedophilia in Argentina before he even became so-called Pope Francis. The sex workers, he said, just as Yahoshua mentioned, were being brought in to be told that they could come in, be godparents for children, and now, actually, just as Yahoshua mentioned, marry one another in same-sex marriage. This is very blatant, out-and-out rebellion against Father Yah and what he set up as a normal relationship between a man and a woman through marriage. So the perversion that Yahoshua has just so clearly and explicitly explained to us has been the very lifestyle of George Jorge Bergoglio. So now, family, where do we find ourselves? Those that have participated in those lifestyles and in those things. According to what's been written in Romans chapter 1, it says that those that have participated in them, and not just those that have participated, but those that approve of that lifestyle, even if they themselves do not participate, they are all worthy of death. Again, those of the associates, it looks like everything is coming back to that word again. The associates, those that have associated with, hang out with, run around with, maybe not doing what those participating are doing, but still they're running around with them. Now they're being held accountable for their association. Just as I mentioned earlier, the gynecologist in Rwanda that was associating with the genocide. All of these things now, family, are being brought to the forefront. Things that many of those that associated with them thought was swept under the rug. No one was going to think of them again, simply because of time past. So now we see that that is not the case. Everything has been brought forth transparently, as also was written would happen at this point in time. Everything that had been done in the dark is now coming to the light. And yes, it's affecting each and every one of us on this planet because we all must give an account for our very lives. We already know that the great white throne judgment is set before us. That the books will be opened and Yahoshua will judge from those books. He has been sent here by Father Yah Allah, carrying full authority for justice and judgment to be given on all things pertaining to this planet. So yes, those participants and many of those associates are running and praying, and even the rocks are running and saying to the mountains, hide us from the wrath of Yah. The mountains say that they cannot as well because they are running from the wrath of Yah. Again, those that will survive will be those that have proven by the works of their hands that they are of the righteous. With that, I yield back to you, sir.
And they all said, amen. Let me stop. The United Nations is seriously listening to everything that's going on. I'm talking about the universal world. They're listening. And even though a lot of them don't get to reply, they don't get to even comply, they don't get to do anything. They're just sitting back listening because they're so concerned about this Western world that I told them is already a doomed world. The Western world is doomed. It's not about Vladimir Putin. It's not about a Xi Jinping. It's not even about the would-be so-called Macron or Trudeau. It's not about an Angela Merkel. It's not about a Theresa May. It's not about a would-be so-called Cameron. Or it's not even about a Blair. It's not about any of the so-called English leaders, foreign leaders. It's all about what Yah Allah, God of the universe, has already determined, predetermined from the beginning. And everything that's happening now, as I say to the United Nations, has been pre-designed, predetermined. I know it. It's hard to say that to individuals who think by some chance they're going to be able to escape it based upon their own would-be powers of generating nothing more than green energy, I would call it. No way to escape it. As you just said, that even the rocks will be running. And they will be asking the mountains to fall on them, to hide them from this great raft of he who has come with nothing more than the voice of reckoning for the whole entire universe. And the United Nations right now, all of the nations, and I only say United Nations because I don't want to have to go through the whole list again, which we do have our great one, bringing the nations and giving them their names, every would be called. Even in our absence, we get that. We get it done by her, even in her absence. And you know, that's that part of the world when it becomes flesh and spirit. Because when she's not there, her spirit is giving it. And when she's there, that's her flesh giving it. And that's when it becomes real. It becomes true and real. Stay with me. Don't get lost, anyone. This is a very simple process. And this conversation I have is very simple. No, it's a common, everyday conversation. And believe it or not, I do make sure that I steer past, and I try to steer clear, and I'm going to say I steer clear because I heard a sister in my head say, you don't try to do anything, Yahoshua Meshika, you just do it. Don't try, just do it. Thank you, my beloved sister. I'm going to use her first name, whether it bothers anyone or not, but I'm going to use her first name, Dina. God Almighty. I'm going to say once again that we're doing this. Everything is happening. Nothing happens just to be happening. Everything happens, and it has a reason. No, everything doesn't happen for a reason. Everything happens, and that's not just for a reason, but it happens for a reason. You don't have to find a for to do it with reason. You don't have to. Everything happens with reasoning. Now, the United Nations, like I said, is well aware of what's going on. They're watching the Western world, knowing that the Western world is being eliminated as I speak. The Western world is being eliminated, and believe it or not, no matter how many times Jeff Bezos allows his girlfriend, Miss Sanchez, to have her would-be so-called red parties or where everyone has to be in some type of red outfit, it's not going to bring it any much closer to hell than what it already is. First day would be God Almighty. Everyone dressed up, red clothes and real dark black hair like they're in a gothic would-be hell. I mean, no, I'm not attacking her. I'm not attacking Mr. Bezos. Because they have systematically allowed themselves to be drawn into a hell's would-be kitchen. And when you get drawn into hell's would-be kitchen, you eat like the demons do. You feast with the demons. You've been drawn into the devil's kitchen. What did you expect? Did you think that you was being drawn into the devil's kitchen where everyone would have their utensils or nothing more than angel-made forks? And those would be friendly Casper doses to be nothing more than a spoon? What did you expect? To be invited into the devil's kitchen. No one was going to be giving you this huge would-be female jumping out of an angel food cake in the devil's kitchen. I'm sure that's not what you expected, is it? Stay with me. I know these things are not written in anybody's book, and I know they can be very graphic. And who would say that they're amusing? He's amusing. Some of the things he say is fascinating. They could be amusing. You get drawn into them. Help me out. Maxine, help me out. Where you at now? Surely you're still in the house. I'm supposed to say, tear the roof off, and you're supposed to say the other words. Maxine, remember, you know how to party still, don't you? Say with me, God Almighty. The roof. The roof. I keep hearing all those party goers hollering, it's on fire. So we don't need no water. I know, I heard you. I heard all of you repeat. Because you want to know something, believe it or not, we're in 198 nations right now. You can go into any of their would-be so-called celebration, and all you got to do is holler, the roof is on fire. And everybody will repeat in unison the next part of the would-be phrase. No matter what. That will be those, and that will be speaking languages that you have never heard before, but they will be using the exact same phrase that you're using for the ending. The roof. The roof. The roof is on fire, and we don't need no water. I can hear it. I even hear him doing it in the Vatican right now. I can see all the cardinals and bishops, and even the Pope himself has his robe pulled up to his knees, and he's dancing back and forth, doing the lion dance, and everyone starts to screaming, the roof is on fire, and we don't need no water. God Almighty, what a world we live in. Warning! Coming from Yahoshua Meshika. I got work to do. God Almighty. I can see I'm getting ready now. Everybody's getting ready for the line dance. I'm going to go get in line. Meantime, I looked outside my window. It's now day. Man must work while it's still day, for when night cometh, no man can work. But as for you, I know. You worked hard. You earned everything that you're about to receive. Meantime, all you got to go do now is just remember that the war is going on, and it is going to get worse. You need to realize that the war will spill over into the battle, and the battle will be Megiddo, it will be classified Armageddon. And it is not going to stop until Lucifer has been put back in his chains, and all of his false prophets, there's only one, He's walking around now believing that he can puff his chest out and brag about being billions of people, except his rock and roll would be so-called of a minister of the Godfather. Go ahead. I'm going to pass on that one. I'm going to go get back in line because the roof is on fire. We don't need no water. Go ahead. Get your rest. Don't worry about what I just said. You've done enough to get yourself, I would say, to stay in existence for a little while longer. Go ahead and use it. Won't last forever, especially if you're on the wrong side of my Father. Meantime, peace and love, and nightfall.
Thank you, Yahoshua, and thank you, family, for joining us. It is a Wednesday, therefore we do have the Global Network update call this evening at 8:30 Central Standard Time. We do look forward to being with many of our family at that time as well. In the meantime, if darkness has fallen across your land, use the opportunity to get your rest, build up your strength, take to heart everything that he's been telling us. It's light on our side of the planet, family, and you know we're constantly working on your behalf. We do love you, and we leave you with John 17:14 through 17. I, Yahoshua, have given them your word, Father Yah, and the world has hated them, because they are not of the world, just as I am not of the world. I do not pray that you should take them out of the world, but that you should keep them from the evil one. They are not of the world, just as I am not of the world. Sanctify them by your truth, Father Yah. Your word is truth. With that, I yield to you, Sister Nadia.
Thank you, Yahoshua Машика, доктор Хендерсон. Thank you, Sister Shelley. Благодарим вас, доктор Хендерсон, Яhoshua Машика, Сына Человеческого и Сына Божьего во плоти, за ваши огромные знания, труды и мудрые наставления, и ваш неиссякаемый труд для блага всего человечества в реставрации всего мира. Благодарим также сестру Шелли за большую информацию и помощь в этой огромной работе. По средам, пятницам и воскресеньям в 8:30 вечера по центральному времени Северной Америки у нас есть звонок об обновлении всемирной сети. Мы с нетерпением ждем возможности быть со многими вами со всех континентов мира в это время.